DJ, dancing and everything.
Oh, that's me. In the mix.
Yes.
Good evening, Zanzi. Welcome to another installment of Trending SA right here on SABC3. Yes, it's a Monday, brand new week. And listen, we've got some trending stories, the latest hashtags, because you deserve absolutely nothing less. So I'm back in the building. My name is Mo Flavor, the flavored one, as some people call me. You decide the flavor, right? And it's good to be here. But listen, I'm not alone, right? I have to do the right thing because I'm a guest here. The queen of prime time is in the building, Refilwe.
Me?
Yeah.
Stop it.
I
love it.
The delicious one.
Oh, wow. Oh, we're doing that again. So traumatized.
And then, of course, we have the connoisseur, the emperor of Mlazi, the man who is the most generous when he's having fun.
Really, I love what you look like. I really love what you look like. You look like you had a man in my brother's house. That vibe.
Darling, I will do the most when I come to say goodbye.
Say goodbye. Guys, Muraro. Muraro.
Yeah.
May his soul rest in peace.
Yeah. What a gentle soul, what a beautiful soul.
What a lovely guy.
So Muraro, of course, for those that don't know him, was our camera operator right here in studio. Always a kind, encouraging word and a huge, huge smile. So our condolences to his family, his friends, and his loved ones. He really was a gem.
And then it's time for Top Trends.
Let's do it.
So yesterday, the news broke of the passing of the Sundowns football star, Macheka Madisha. He passed away in a horrific car accident in Kempton Park. And this happened as the star was heading home after attending the club's 50th anniversary celebrations. And as TrendingSA, we send our condolences to his family, friends, and fans. We also implore you at home, guys, to be extra vigilant on the roads this festive season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we just, let's not, let's keep it tidy on the roads. This is the season where we lose a lot of people. And
it's been a dreadful thing. I mean, 25-year-old, career ahead of him, national team colors, club colors. It's absolutely sad, really. Really.
All right, so condolences to family and friends once again, as well as the club. Now let's get into this trend. Chief Justice Mogoeng came under fire this past weekend. He led a prayer at a Thanksgiving service last week in Tembisa in Gauteng, and in which he said, and I quote him directly, whatever this means actually. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this video. I think
I locked out every demon of COVID-19. I locked out any vaccine that is not of you. If there be any vaccine that is of the devil, meant to infuse 666 in the lives of people, meant to corrupt their DNA, any such vaccine, Lord God Almighty, may it be destroyed by fire.
So this prayer was met with a lot of reactions from social media and users who argued that the Chief Justice should actually keep his religious beliefs to himself when he's representing the state, while others argued that he should not be embroiled in conspiracy theories. Here are some of the reactions. Umasibanda tweeted this, said, "I still don't understand why judges, any judge, not just this one, are asked and accept to speak in public fora on anything unrelated to their particular roles in the judiciary." And Bulirato S.A. Tumza said this, "I am a Muslim man, but not a Christian, and I personally stand and fully support our Chief Justice, Mr. Mogoeng. This is a democratic country, and we have freedom of speech and prayer aluta continua." I don't understand.
So, I mean, yes, it absolutely is a free country. And I think we're going to unpack this further. But I mean, to the first tweet, there are certain responsibilities that you have when you hold this particular kind of office. That's the first thing. The second thing is we are sitting and dealing with a global pandemic. This is not an ordinary situation where we can debate the efficacies or the necessities of vaccines, especially COVID-19. So this is a very specific case. And I'm curious to hear what our next guest has to say about it.
Well, I'm glad you said that because we are joined on the line by political and social commentator Lukhanyo Vangqa to help us understand why Chief Justice Mogoeng and his prayer caused such an uproar. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, guys. Thank you for the invite.
Well, I mean, let's get straight into it. What do you make of these utterances? I mean, a lot of people have not been happy with them. Some say they're problematic. What's your view on this?
Well, I think the first thing that we must understand is that the Chief Justice's utterances with regards to the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, and relating it to 666 is not out of the ordinary or not in line with his religious beliefs. He's a Christian person, and in the Bible it's mentioned that there will be the Antichrist that will rise and everyone will gain the mark of the beast. So in that context, it's not unusual for him to believe that. But what we are thankful for is the issue that of trias politica, that our government is separated into three arms, which makes the Chief Justice's utterances inconsequential, because it's not the judiciary, it is the executive that will be responsible for making the decision on when, how, and to whom to roll out the vaccine when it eventually does come to South Africa. So we must thank our political system for that. And I also think that our political system, including the judiciary, is robust enough to be able to withstand having a Chief Justice that sometimes goes into these dalliances with conspiracy theories and 5G corona and 666 vaccines. We have a judiciary that is strong enough to be able to withstand having a Chief Justice that is like that. I don't think we should be that much concerned as well, because the context in which these utterances are made are at a prayer. It's not in a judgment, an official judgment of the court. And again, credit to the Chief Justice in that he has acquitted himself very well throughout his tenure in not allowing his religious beliefs, because we know he's a very religious man with strong religious beliefs, but that has not tempered with his jurisprudence. We have not been able to discern from his judgments that the religious is now affecting the official and when he acts in that capacity. But we must condemn the views, considering, as you've said, Refilwe, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and any confusion such as that one will necessarily lead to unnecessary loss of life.
Yeah, you know, Lukhanyo, thank you for unpacking that for us very, very concisely, and actually touching on how how he acquits himself, right? How the Chief Justice acquits himself in doing his job. But I mean, fundamentally, we also know that as a prominent person within a religious group as well, you might still hold sway. We're seeing our government is anticipating having to win people over into taking this vaccine, because your choice to vaccinate right now is not an individual one. It impacts the entire society, right? So it's not one to be taken lightly. So perhaps the furor is based on that.
No, definitely, we must accept that. I mean, as a country, we've seen how denialism has led to an unnecessary loss of life, with the Mbeki 8 denialism that led to so many people unnecessarily losing their lives. What I was just saying is that in this instance, we're sort of fortunate that he doesn't hold that responsibility. But again, if he's causing or contributing to the creation of confusion with his views, that is both unhelpful and unfortunate, especially for someone of his station in the Republic.
Well, thank you so much, Lukhanyo. It's always a pleasure when you join us. So right now we're going to go on a quick ad break, and we still have more trends coming your way. See you in a short while.
Welcome back to Trending SA. Now, this past weekend, it was revealed that Exclusive Books will be partnering with the media broadcast heavyweights, Usibe Makaiza, as well as Joanne Joseph. They've got this podcast series called Cover to Cover.
Coast to
and
coast.
The idea here, corner to corner. Yeah. These inside jokes. I don't know how they land on TV. So Cover to Cover is about exploring books, society, as well as hosting some local authors. Now, it is a venture that is supposedly supposed to expose literature like never before. Now, in the first episode, Eusebius and Joanne made the following remarks. Take a listen to this.
One of the problems has been in the last few years. I mean, we had someone like Jenny Chris Williams really developing a love for reading through her shows in the last few decades, actually. And things have quietened down since then. We haven't really had a dedicated book show. Right. And technology now allows us to bring this online and democratize it and just make it available to so many people.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it seems that these actresses sent social media into an uproar many people noting why this was problematic. And Binwe made this thread, and it started with this tweet saying, yo, at Exclusive Books, that Joanne by Eusebius convo was not only extremely condescending, it was also factually shaky and deeply ahistorical. Black literary platforms have been working to create content since COVID, but Joanne gets to erase all of that. No way, how disrespectful. And then at Bongani Tau said this, quieting down, how then there's so much work that's been putting by everyone in the literary space in the last decade or so, be it indie booksellers, publishers, podcasters, YouTubers, etc. Okay.
Interesting comments. Well, let's get straight into it, because to help us unpack the goings-ons within the literature space is somebody who knows all about it. We're joined by Kgauhelo Dube, who is a writer, art and literacy activist as well, a practitioner in that space. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. May I just correct that I'm not a writer. I'm actually a brand strategist who decided to focus on supporting the literature versus working in the advertising space.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. I mean, let's dive straight into it. Why are these remarks or comments problematic in your view?
They're problematic, and I don't want to, the word ahistorical may just alienate other people. I would just say that they erase memory. Because then when we say things like that, then it means that we don't remember a lot of other people who came before us. I mean, I've done a lot of work in literacy promotion, but I mean, we all come from a literary, what can I say? A world where a nation where literature was a form of a struggle, a tool that supported struggle. For example, I mean, when you say that this is a first of its kind, what happens to people like Ndate Raksi Akhoa, who is running the South African Literary Awards? Who runs the Miriam Tladi Book Club, which was in existence even in Metladi's lifetime. What happens to the memory of Shara Books, a bookstore that was launched by Ndate Mandlalanga and Mejun? Binwe is very right by saying this is ahistorical, because then we are erasing those who come before us, and that is very problematic.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. We really appreciate you making the time and just unpacking those sentiments that so many people on social media had over this weekend in reaction to that interview, that sit down. Really appreciate it. All right, fantastic. And of course, now we're also tracking something else that's been making the rounds on our timeline. It is #family-meeting. We know that infections have been on the rise across the country, and everyone is rather tentative because the president is expected to outline the government's response to the second wave of COVID-19. We're looking forward to an address shortly.
And it wouldn't be Twitter if the tweets didn't have a field day with it. This is what Kgauhelo had to say. Kgauhelo said, so yiki for today's speech. Cakes just give us a chance. We can't be stuck in Naheng. I'm good. My
well done.
Yeah, thank you. Still waiting with this. Whether you like him or not, Oksalayo, he's the one with the remote control, the breadwinner. If he likes, he can put all of us on pause. Guys, what do you want the president to say tonight? Mo, I'll start with you.
Close the borders. Nobody goes out, nobody comes in. Because we've seen how this virus spreads, right? People travel all over the world. Yes, it's going to travel nationally all over the country. Maybe limit that as well to some extent. And let's see, because we've been here before. We had a lekker dress rehearsal a couple of months ago. Now this is the real time. This is the real deal. So we
Yeah.
need to close these borders.
So what I need to see is an actual stimulus check or a third 14th check for people working in retail, packing our shelves, who've been out there on the front
And me
lines.
as well. I've been on
Doctors,
radio
nurses.
throughout this time. Come on.
Well, also me. But it's really, really key to encourage them at this point. So what we actually did was put out a poll on Facebook, asked viewers what they wanted to see the president announce. And here's one from the Credo saying level 5 back, ban sales of alcohol with immediate effect.
No.
That's extreme.
Okay. No.
Itumeleng Hlakudi says he better not tell us not to travel. Nah, I miss home. Le moto wa ka.
Okay, if you go home,
That's
stay
for
home.
some people's minds.
If we're high, do la high.
No? And don't bring it back to us.
All right, well, still on this issue of the Rona, to help us unpack some of the factors driving the resurgence in our country is the president of the Medical Association, Dr. Angelique Coetzee. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening and a good evening to all the listeners and the panel out there.
Sure.
Thank you.
I mean, it would seem, Doc, that there's an element of complacency here as far as we are as, citizens in this country, people not wearing masks, we've seen people not adhering to some of the physical distancing measures, all of those things. Is that a correct assessment here?
Yes, that's absolutely correct assessment. People, I think they've got COVID fatigue, but, even if we all have COVID fatigue, it still doesn't give us the right not to do what is the right thing. Also important to understand that the young people are quite on they follow their own head. They very seldom listen to what we are, not very seldom.
Your airtime is exhausted and your call has been terminated.
Unfortunately, we've lost
Trending
Dr. Coetzee.
SA, we lost
Right, guys,
Dr. Coetzee, unfortunately. But what do you
my
think?
thing right now is we need to take back the whole thing, Yama funerals. It must go back to 50 people at a funeral. And definitely we're closing the beaches. Like people must not, especially on the first, that
You're
can't
upsetting
happen.
a lot of people.
No,
Kids want
guys.
to go to the beach.
No, the kids
They've
must
been nagging the
understand.
whole year.
No, guys, the kids must understand. Also, we need a curfew here 9 o'clock. Because the 12 o'clock was just not working out.
So in that 3 hours, things happen, eh? In that 3 hours.
In that 3 hours, you
You've
need
got 3
to.
hours to do the most. But seriously, guys, let's just be cognizant of the fact that people in the healthcare sector are actually fatigued.
Sure.
If we think we are COVID fatigued,
Yeah.
they are actually tired of seeing people die, seeing people sick and unable to see their family members whilst they're trying to recover. Those people are being incredibly affected.
And
So
2
let's do our
nurses have
best.
died in PE.
Yeah.
2 casualty nurses. So
Yeah.
the people are dying, and we need to actually realize what we need to tighten.
Well, it's been a very, very tough year, and I think the healthcare workers have been feeling the brunt of it. So we do commend them for their stellar work. Stay with us because right here on Trending SA, we have more trends coming your way straight after this. Welcome back to Trending SA right here on SABC3. Now, President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris graced the cover of Time magazine. I mean, the magazine named both Biden and Harris as 2020's Person of the Year. As we know, they both made history when they won the 2020 US elections, with Harris becoming the first black female vice president-elect. Come on now.
All right, to bring this closer to home, we asked our audience if Time magazine was South African, who would they pick to be their Person of the Year? We nominated the Hawks, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, Master KG, and G65. And we ran a poll on Twitter, and this is how you voted. So people voted for Master KG. It has to be the Jerusalem. And that's 40.8%. And then second in place is G65. Who would you pick?
Something is concerning me. The Hawks got the least votes. Are we like all in trouble with the Hawks? That nobody wants them to be Persons of the Year? Like,
No.
But you know what? I agree with Master KG.
Yeah.
I mean, not just from a South African context. Globally, he's won awards in France. Have you seen his car?
No,
Have
that
you
was
seen his car?
What car does he have?
Sure, he drives a Rari.
Okay. Refilo, who would you pick?
I hope there are like a couple of bonds along with that Rari. I'm just saying, I'm here for the Minister of Health, Dr. William Kgauhelo, because this poor man is out here trying to affect behavioral change in all of us, and we know we're hard-headed.
All right, for me, I pick Oban Lababantu. Oban, that like Umam came through.
Yeah.
And then just left with a bang as well.
Oh,
And, like,
boy, did
that's
she
how you
ever.
exit.
Boy, did
life.
she ever.
Yeah.
Speaking of exiting, and this is not necessarily an exciting one, Springbok wing Apiwe Yankee has been banned from competing in rugby, getting involved in the sports administration, or even competing in any other sport locally or internationally for 4 years. This comes after the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sports suspended him. He previously tested positive for using performance enhancement drugs just before the Springboks jetted off to Japan for the Rugby World Cup.
Institute as the kind of framework for the sanctions, and they work from 4 years, either less or 4 years up, as in some cases athletes have received more than 4 years. Prior to 2003, the maximum sanction was 2 years. Following the 2004 World Anti-Doping Code, where athletes and National Sports Federation all give input, there was agreement on an international level that there were managed doping in the coming out of the Lance Armstrong cases, where cyclists in this case felt, well, if we get caught, we get a 2-year ban, and I'm 19 years old. I still have quite a career ahead of me, and then I also have the performance enhancing benefits. So there was a era of managed doping with a 2-year sanction, and that's why sport moved to 4 years, so that if an athlete tests positive 4 years, they will miss an Olympic cycle or World Cup cycle, World Championships cycle.
Sure.
And this agreement is not just a few anti-doping bodies, it's athletes, it's International Sports Federation, it's the global sports community that agrees and signs off on the World Anti-Doping Code. And this code, the revised version, was adopted last year in November in Poland.
All right.
So
Okay.
the new code comes into effect 1st of January 2021.
All right. Mr. Galand, what will it take for him to relaunch his career? Will he always be a person of suspect for the body?
Well, that is not for me to answer whether an athlete should relaunch his career or which career he should launch in terms of sport. We have a risk analysis of how we conduct testing. There's various variables that take into account the profile of the athlete, the position, the physiological nature of the sport. And that's how athletes are tested, and based on either those variables or various information. So we have no opinion on how an athlete should relaunch their sports career, or whether they should launch their sports career after doping offense. Many athletes have launched a sports career following a doping transgression, and we treat them during that period when they're back in the fold of sport as any other athlete.
Okay.
Mr. Galand, thank you so much for joining us. And unfortunately, we have arrived at the end of yet another exciting edition of Trending SA. We will continue with more trending stories tomorrow at our usual time slot, 6 p.m. right here on SABC3. Good night, South Africa.
All right.